So here's a huge question. Does artificial intelligence actually understand the words it's using? I mean, really get the meaning? It's a question that forces us to think about what meaning even is. And today, we are going to unpack it.
You've probably seen it, right? Generative AI can spit out text that is so unbelievably coherent, it almost feels conscious. But is that real deal comprehension? Or is it just an incredibly sophisticated magic trick, a kind of statistical mimicry? That's the core question we're diving into. Here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at how AI handles language using pure math. And then we're going to throw a wrench in the works with a super famous philosophical thought experiment called the Chinese room. All right, first up, let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how AI pulls off this incredible illusion of understanding us so well. So before we can even ask if an AI really understands, we first have to get our heads around how it even thinks about language. And at its core is this wild idea. Meaning isn't some abstract thing. It's just a mathematical pattern. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. This concept is basically the engine that powers the large language models we're all playing with these days. And this quote from the linguist J.R. Firth, it just nails it. For an AI, a word doesn't get its meaning from a dictionary. Nope. It gets its meaning from the words that hang out with it all the time, the other words that consistently show up next to it. And that's the core idea behind what's officially called distributional semantics. Meaning isn't some deep philosophical concept locked inside a word. It's much simpler than that. It's just its statistical context, where it shows up across millions and millions of sentences. So how does an AI actually use this? Well, it's pretty wild. It takes all those relationships and turns them into these gigantic strings of numbers we call vectors. So the word cat just becomes a point in this enormous mathematical space, and it's located really close to the points for cute, animal, and meow. The key thing to get here is that the AI isn't thinking about a fluffy cat. It's just doing math on the relationships between these numbers. Okay, so if AI is just a glorified pattern matcher, just manipulating numbers, can we really call that understanding? Well, there's a classic philosophical argument that puts this whole idea to the ultimate test. Let's travel back to 1980 for a minute. A philosopher named John Searle came up with a thought experiment that is frankly more relevant today than ever. It's called the Chinese room, and it's designed to figure out what comprehension actually is. I want you to picture this. You've got a person who doesn't speak a single word of Chinese, locked in a room. Inside, they have a massive, incredibly detailed rulebook. Now, someone from the outside slides questions written in Chinese under the door. The person inside uses the rulebook, which has instructions like, if you see this symbol, find the matching symbol, and write down the symbol next to it. By just following these rules, they can piece together and slide back perfectly correct, fluent answers in Chinese. So from the outside looking in, it's perfect. It seems like whoever or whatever is in that room is fluent in Chinese. The answers are flawless. But what about the person inside, the one actually doing the work? Do they understand a single word of the conversation they're having? No way. Not a clue. They're just pushing symbols around. And that is the punchline of Searle's whole argument. Just following the rules, the syntax, and manipulating symbols correctly is not and can never be the same thing as understanding the actual meaning, the semantics. And he argued that computers, no matter how powerful they get, are fundamentally stuck just shuffling symbols. Right, so you might be thinking, that's a cool story from 1980, but what does it have to do with today's super advanced AI? Well, as you're about to see, the parallels are pretty shocking. I mean, look at this. The parallels are almost one-to-one. The AI's gigantic data set of text, that's the rulebook. Converting words into numerical vectors, that's just a high-tech version of manipulating symbols. The whole process is basically the same as the person in the room. It's just happening at a scale that is almost impossible for us to comprehend. So what's missing? What's the secret ingredient that the person has, but the AI doesn't? Experience. Intention. An AI has never actually felt the fur of a cat. It's never lived in a society that's fighting for democracy. It knows the word democracy is statistically close to words like freedom and government, but it doesn't have any of the grounded, real-world experience behind the concept. It's just manipulating a statistical shadow of reality. And all of this, it brings us right to the cutting edge of one of the biggest, most exciting debates happening in philosophy and AI research right now.
So you've got two main camps here. On one side, you have the skeptics. They're on Team Searle, arguing that without real consciousness, without intention, all AI can ever achieve is a kind of pseudo-understanding. But on the other side, you've got supporters pushing back. Some say, hey, wait a minute, maybe the whole system, the person, the room, the book, together, maybe that understands Chinese. Others bring up the philosopher Wittgenstein, whose whole thing was meaning is use. They argue that if an AI can use language perfectly in every single situation, who are we to say it doesn't understand? Its ability to function is a type of understanding.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. What's the big picture here? Today's AI creates this amazing illusion of understanding by becoming a master of statistical patterns in language. But the Chinese room argument makes a really strong case that this is just sophisticated mimicry, not real comprehension, because it lacks conscious experience. The reason it feels so real to us is that the AI has created a near-perfect mathematical mirror of how we use language. And that's where we land, with this giant, fascinating question that we just don't have the answer to yet. Does real meaning require a conscious mind and lived experience, or is flawlessly recreating the function of language good enough to earn the title of understanding? There's no easy answer here, and honestly, it's a question we're all going to have to wrestle with as these systems get woven deeper and deeper into our lives. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.